I'm Jason Verlinde, the publisher of the Fretboard Journal, and this is the inaugural episode of Fretboard Journal Live. Once a month, we're going to take people behind the scenes, see how a magazine interview takes place, allow folks on our Facebook and Twitter feeds to pose questions to artists, and we're going to do all this live. This is all thanks to our friends at Martin Guitars. Can't thank them enough. They've given us free reign to really talk to anyone we want, and they're helping us put this thing up together. So our first guest ever, David Grier, you were on the cover of the Fretboard Journal 16. Before we get into your life story, before we start grilling you, in that article that Art Dudley did on you, he mentioned a memorable moment in your life when you were playing at Steve Martin's wedding, and the actor and comedian Martin Mull came up to you, and he asked you to play one song in particular. He was a fan.
Right, yeah.
And I would love to hear a little bit of that tune. It was King Wilkie's Run.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic.
Something like that.
Do you remember how that tune came together?
I was just goofing off in the living room, and that's how it came out.
Is that usually how it goes down?
Sometimes, that's more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew the studio date was coming up, and I thought, well, how am I going to start it? And then that's how this part happened. There's a powerful lot of cross-picking in that.
Yeah.
So that's how that became.
Yeah.
And wish he'd have picked a simpler song to play.
We'll throw you some softballs later on.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's all right. It's a little different.
Yeah.
A little rock and roll sort of. I don't know what you'd call it. But it's, yeah, difficult's what I call it.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any of your tunes that you just won't play live because they're a little too tricky?
There's tunes I can't play live. But there's one off my very first record that since I recorded it, I can't find the feel for it anymore. And so I never play that.
And of course, people probably request it all the
Well,
time.
one of my friends does every time he sees me because he knows I can't play it.
What's that tune?
Oh, golly, it's almost one of the last ones on there. I don't know.
You can't even remember the name.
I can't remember the name of it.
Blocked out.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. You had a very...
If I knew her name, I think that's the name of it.
All right. You growing up had a very interesting background, and you got to meet a lot of music heroes that most of us aspiring guitarists never got to meet. Was there just music in your house all the time because of your dad?
Not all the time, but quite a bunch, you know. Sundays especially. He'd be listening to the Chuck Wagon Gang or the Stanley Brothers. And as I got older, I'd be listening to the Rolling Stones or Dire Straits or whoever. It'd be like stereo wars. You know, you go back to the house, you hear me, and you go towards the living room, and you hear all them. So, yeah, but what it was an education, really. I mean, he would point things out. It's like, did you hear that? Yeah, I heard that. No, let's rewind that. Let's hear it again. I heard it the first time. No, play it again.
Yeah.
Point things out that were, you know, cool way to learn.
Yeah. Was there ever a prodding to get you into the banjo or no?
No. In fact, he didn't want me to play the banjo. The reason he put a guitar in my hands was that he figured as I got older, if I decided I didn't want to play bluegrass, I wanted to play country or jazz or rock and roll or classical, whatever, that I'd have a better chance with the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just a matter of me applying myself to whatever I wanted to do. But that was his thing. And back then, you know, in the early 60s, well, later 60s when I was older, there wasn't much place for a banjo.
Yeah.
It was nice back then.
Did he go back and forth between? I know you have his old Martin. Did he play guitar a fair amount too, or he was pretty much always on the banjo?
Pretty much always on the banjo. He plays chords and he figured out some things, but that was about it. Mostly a banjo player.
And through him, there's that amazing photo of you as a kid with Clarence White at.
Oh yeah.
And
isn't that cool?
It's really cool.
It's really cool. You know what else is? A friend of mine, Mariko, was in Nashville staying for a bit, and she knew a photographer who was at that same festival who took a picture of the Kentucky Colonels when they were on stage. And I remember myself sitting on the side of the stage, so I said, man, check that picture and see if I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course she didn't know me from a kid, but she showed me the picture. I said, well, that's me right there. So I have two pictures from that festival.
What do you remember about that?
I just remember every time Clarence was on stage, I was on the stage too. We were sitting on the side of the stage. It's just a little, not very high.
Yeah.
And there were other kids all around there too.
Was he able to impart any wisdom on you, or any? No.
I didn't ask. I just watched.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah. And the other photo probably isn't on the internet. That one with.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what was cool about that festival was like a week or two later they played in Annapolis.
Okay.
And that's when I got to play Clarence's guitar. And Roland and I knew Roland. He'd been by the house before, and I'd gone to see him, and I knew Roland. We were buddies, and we picked. So we were sitting there. Roland and Clarence had two rooms with the door on the inside that connected them. You know what I mean? I don't know what you call that, but anyway. Roland and I were playing, and Dad and Clarence was in Clarence's room talking. And I was playing Clarence's guitar, which played like butter. The action was so low, as medium gauge strings. My guitar, well, Dad's 18, real high action and heavy gauge strings.
Yeah.
Like Black Diamond or Mapes or whatever you could find, you know.
Sure.
And so playing Clarence's guitar with the medium strings and the low action, it was just, you thought of a lick and it played it by itself, seemingly.
Yeah.
And I remember Roland and I were doing this song, dueling banjos.
Okay.
And I would answer, and Roland did, and I did this, which was Clarence's lick. So Roland again, and did that little, which is like a scale deal. It's not a whole lot to it. And I remembered it from when he played there just a couple weeks earlier, you know, and he came into the room where Roland and I were playing. I said, "Where'd you hear that?" Which is like startled me because I knew it was his lick, you know, and I'm like 12. It's 73, not quite my birthday. Almost 12. And said, "Well, I'd heard you do it. Where'd you hear me do it?" And he's like, "Oh God, he's mad." I said, "Well, I heard you do it at Indian Springs when y'all played there. I heard you do a couple sets. You did 2 one day and 2 the next, I reckon. And I heard it 3 or 4 times. You did it there, and it's cool. And I just remembered it, so I did it."
Yeah.
And he took his hand, and on the TV was a pitcher and plastic cups, glasses, you know, whatever. And they were empty, and he took his hand and went like that, and he knocked them off, and I thought, "Oh God, now he's really mad." And everybody started laughing because they knew, and he was joking, and I didn't at first because I just didn't know. And he offered to buy. He told my dad that I should have one of those guitars he had, which was one of those Mark White book guitars that had the W up there. And Dad says, "Well, hell, if you think it's that good and we should have one, I'll just get it myself," you know. And so we bought one. And Dad asked me, should we get the abalone all around it? You know, and I said, yeah, which I wish I didn't because it's too ornate. But it was cool. I remember when it showed up, I took it out of the box and played it all day. It was great.
You still have that guitar?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So I think we need to go a little bit back because you're 11 years old and you're able to do that. I mean, are you totally self-taught? Did you have anyone as kind of a guru?
Well, Dad showed me things. Mostly he showed me chords, you know. I mean, and basic chords. As far as B, there was no B. It was B7. If you wanted to B, you're out of luck. Because he didn't know a B.
Yeah.
And in bluegrass, you don't really need a B, you know, I guess. So you watch the old styles, and that was it. And, you know, all the basic chords. And then C7, you know, D7, G7, E7, A7, all in the minors. That was about it. Mostly normal, folky kind of first position chords that weren't that fancy. And so after a while, you know, it took me a while and I learned them, and then I started to play lead somehow through time. And at that time when I met Clarence, or the first I remember meeting him, you know, I'd been playing 5 or 6 years. And again, it wasn't the most difficult thing in the world. It's just you could hum it, and so it was easy to find.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not discounting it. I mean, I did do it. I thought of it and found it and did it. Right then, it ain't like I practiced it. And I've been doing that again at the house. Because, you know, after a while you get tired of playing the same stuff. You pick your guitar up and you play the same 4 songs. So one day, this is jumping way ahead.
That's all right.
I decided I was going to play songs that I know but I'd never play. And that sounds weird, but we all know songs that we don't play. So it took me a while just sitting there to think of one. And this is what I came up with. It ain't much, but it's a start. So the idea was to hear something and find it. Now, I wasn't wanting to learn tunes, because I'm much too lazy for that. I was wanting to play tunes and make my head and my fingers connect again instead of just playing things by rote. You know how you do. And so then, you know, what other songs? You know, Christmas carols. On and on and on. And, you know, whatever I could think of, and the object again was to play it,
Yeah.
not to figure it out and learn it. And so, there were several tunes, and then I was happy, and then I went back to playing what I always played.
Yeah.
But it was good to make that connection again, Sort of, I think it was. Just get the brain working again, make sure if I have an idea, I might have a chance at finding it.
Yeah.
So.
And when you were a kid, you were kind of going back and forth between bluegrass and rock and roll, or?
No, it was all bluegrass and whatever I was able to write on my own.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, I wrote. I won't be able to play it. I hadn't played it in a long time. It's on my evocative CD. It's called "The End of a Good Day." It goes. That's a little bit of it. Anyway, and that was different. That wasn't bluegrass. I don't know what it is. I don't know, easy listening or something. I don't know. But I liked it because it was different.
Yeah.
And I thought of it, so that was cool. But mostly bluegrass stuff until I became a teenager and I got a Telecaster.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, Dad, Clarence has one. It's like, well, okay. And then he got me a Telecaster. That was cool.
And did you devote yourself to electric strictly for a while, or you always kind of went back and forth?
I went back and forth for a while, but I discovered that I didn't like, well, for lack of a better term, the bluegrass vocabulary played on a Telecaster. It just didn't seem right, or I wasn't able to do it right. Either way, I kind of think it didn't sound right. So I had to learn a whole new way of playing that would suit my ear better, because that didn't do it.
Yeah.
And when you're practicing, you're the one that's got to hear it all the time. So you might as well do something you like, or strive for something you're going to like.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping doing what you know and making it fit one way or another. If it doesn't sound good, why? So I started listening to what I liked, which was James Burton, Albert Lee, and Don Rich, and Clarence White, all telly players. Albert Collins, Keith Richards. Amos Garrett's another one. He did this one lick. It's way cool. That's hard to do. Have it all come out. So that was cool, and it works better on a telly because you just turn the volume.
Yeah.
But I discovered, that there's some licks you can do. It's always cool to hear something that's not on an acoustic guitar and see if you can do it. That's part of the fun. It's like Map to a Pirate's Treasure or something.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, can I do this? This is cool. And then you... So, a couple pedal steel licks that
Yeah.
are kind of cool. So it's always fun to learn something new, but I'm not much on studying things. I like just to discover them on my own, which takes me a lot longer, I reckon.
Sure.
But it's fun.
What's going on over here with this right hand, this cross picking stuff?
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I can follow what's going on here, but
Yeah.
over here is kind of this vortex.
Right. There's a bunch of stuff.
How did that come about?
Okay. So I must have been at a jam session or somewhere, and I saw somebody do this to start off a song.
Yeah.
And then on to it. So I thought, that's cool. Instead of just one string, that's three. And so then I tried to do that, and eventually, when I first started, it wasn't that good. Just like everybody else. Anytime you start something new, it's difficult to be really good at it. So you work at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would pick three strings and try to make them sound even in volume.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 3, 2, 1. Or you can go start on the bottom and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, either way. And I wanted it to be even. So when I wanted one to be louder, it was my choice and not by mistake that one just jumped out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of trying to learn how to do that. And after a while, I got tired. Why does it have to be 3 strings? That's limiting. I thought, well, I want to do all of them. So I figured this out, which is still 3 and then 3 and 3 and 3, but it gets all 6. And then I invented this song as like a practice because it's kind of boring to do that. So. And then, because that was still 3 and 3 and 3 and 3, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I don't have to play 3. I can do all of them. I can go all the way across, which isn't 3 at all. It's just all 6 in a row. And the way I do it, I alternate primarily. Not always, but more often than not. I'm alternating.
Okay.
Okay, then I had all that, and all that helps because you got to be able to play the notes. This hand could be complex as heck, but if you're not hitting the notes with this hand, who's going to hear it, right? So it's important. They're both important, said Mr. Obvious. But so that's what I did, and then much later, I'm doing this again. I thought, well, it doesn't have to be 3 strings in a row. It could be any 3 strings. So that's the 5th. And the 3rd and the 2nd. So you can change it around. Like in the beginning of that King Wilkie's run. So it starts with 3 strings together. Yeah, sure it does. It starts with 3 strings together like this. So while these 2 strings are still constant, there's the 3rd string gets lower and lower off the 4th, 5th, starts on the 3 strings together, the 4th, 5th, down to the 6th string, all while still playing those 2. And it allows you to do different things. Every new thing you learn is going to allow you to do something different. And once you learn something new, it pushes you down this other way that you didn't know about just a little while ago. And it's cool, and then that's where I find all the fun, is discovering a new way to do something that you didn't know before, that then opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah. The
first time I discovered that, Dad showed me this lick. I thought it was the coolest lick in the world. Right?
Sure.
Who hadn't heard that? Jimmy Rogers, a million years ago. So I learned that. It's like, well, that's 2 notes. And not just one, like...
Yeah.
So that was 2 notes. Oh, you can do that? You can do harmony? That's the coolest thing. Well, where else can you do it? You can do it in any key you want. So that was the first big breakthrough in that you could do 2 strings or play harmony with yourself.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
We have a request from the internet. Anita on our Facebook page says she'd really like to hear Red-Haired Boy.
Anita! I need a fix of Red-Haired Boy. All right. Sure, I can do. Can I do that? Yeah. This is another old standard song. That I got tired of playing the old standard way, so I changed it around a bit, and it ended up being in 7, the first part. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, which there's your 7. Something like that.
Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. And there's all kinds of cross picking going on there that's not just 3 strings.
In the middle of a fiery solo in a on stage pandemonium, are you thinking about that, or is that just kind of happening?
That's just sort of mostly happening. I've pretty much figured out how I like it, and I pretty much do it that way
Yeah.
all the time. There's little differences where I'll get bored and I'll change something or I'll forget a part.
Yeah.
And then you're winging it. But I sort of have an idea of what I want to do on that one.
Yeah.
And I've done it for so long that I kind of have it figured out.
Yeah. Since we're hearing this beautiful guitar, can you tell me a little bit about this thing?
Yeah, man. This was made by a luthier.
One of those.
One
Endangered
of those.
species, yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought? And his name is Dake Trefagan. And Dake Trefagan lives up in Bellingham, Washington, and he built this. And he's got his shop, of course, where he works. And he's the only one that does it. He built everything. Some places got a guy that does this and a guy that does that. Even if there are 3 or 4 guys, that's it. But he does it all himself. And I like it. It's got all the strings. That's always,
All 6 of them, yeah.
That's always good. Check this out. Look at that. If you like wood,
Yeah.
there's some wood for you. That's real old Brazilian rosewood. And it's on the back and sides. And that's wood binding there.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of wood. And the top has this clear pick guard. There's one there.
Yeah.
And I believe it's Adirondack spruce top. It's got these little claw marks, bear claw deal, whatever you call that. I'm no big wood guy, but you know what's interesting about this to me, I don't even know if you can see it, but maybe, is back here, there's these dents on the side.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I can see it, yeah.
And there's one big one right there. And it's on both sides somewhere. Anyway, he told me that had happened when he heated it up. You got to heat the sides to bend them. They're just straight pieces of wood when you see them cut. But then you put them in this heat press sort of deal, and it bends them to the shape you want. And during that process, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect anything. It don't make no difference. It's just kind of, I like to rub back there every now and then. It's cool. And what I like about this guitar is I can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is no big deal. I could play a harmony or a Stella and by myself right here, hear it.
Sure.
And that's easy. It's when you're playing with people that have really good instruments, or even any instruments sometimes, you know, that you can't hear yourself on a cheaper or less expensive or less well built guitar.
Yeah.
And so I can hear this in a jam session. What's really nice is I feel the back vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I like that. It lets me know the thing's working. Everything's moving, vibrating to push sound, and I like that.
Did you have a lot of feedback on the making of this particular guitar, or did he kind of just hand it to you and you fell in love?
He handed it to me. I'd first met him in Bellingham. He was building I believe he and another luthier there who lives about a mile away. They're just falling off the trees out there. His name is Kent Chasson. And Kent and Dake, I believe, were building together this baritone guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you ever played a baritone guitar, they're rascally and aggravating in that they buzz a lot and they don't intonate well and they're unwieldy. They're big strings and the frets down here are big enough, but on a baritone guitar they're like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, how can I reach to the 3rd fret already?
Yeah.
But that guitar was amazing. Intonated all the way up, played in tune, was easy to play. The action was lowered. It was wonderful. So I said, okay, great. I want this. Oh, you can't have that one. You know, somebody's already bought this one. We'll build you one like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want one like it. I've already played this one. This one's great. I'll take this one. No, you can't take that. We made it for somebody. We'll make him another. No, he's already paid for it. I told him we got to ship it to him in a week, so you can't have this. Sure, I can't. No, you can't. So anyway, that was my first time meeting Dave.
And then you didn't go the baritone route. You went with this.
Well, we spoke a little bit.
Yeah.
And he built this, and I played it, and I liked it, and so So that's the deal. He made a deal with me, and I get to play this as long as I want, is my understanding, until I don't want to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that could happen, you know, you never know, you taste change, you whatever. But, and then when that happens, I gotta send it back, because it's his, it's not mine.
Okay.
See, a lot of folks build your guitar and say, here you go, here's your guitar, and you play it for a while, and then you get tired of it, or something happens, or whatever, and you get rid of it, because you got others. And I can't get rid of this one. It goes back to him. It's his,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was pretty smart of him. You
Yeah.
know? Good for him. But I've been playing it for like 3 or 4 years now. I love it. It's great. I like it a lot. You should buy one. Here's the thing with, you know, because he is a one-man luthier, he can build it however you want.
Yeah.
But don't go that route. Just tell him to build you a good one, like mine. Tell him to build it like mine, and leave him alone, because you'll just ruin it. You know, you'll want, I'll put a gear shift on there back there and then do this. It's like, no, just build me a good guitar, and he can do it. I like this one. Maybe you can tell.
You haven't been, compared to, say, Tony Rice, much of a guitar monogamist in your life. You've kind of moved around.
I was for a long time. I had a killer D18. It's 1955.
Yeah.
It was my dad's. I grew up playing it. I knew everything about that guitar. I knew how to get pretty tones. I knew how to get harsh tones. I knew how to play it quiet, loud. I knew the breaking point, how hard I could hit it before it started rattling.
Mm-hmm.
I knew everything, because I
Yeah.
grew up with that guitar. I knew everything about it. And the action was a little high. So I took it to a guy. What should I have done? Oh, you need a neck set.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to do it? No, it's good to know. Took it to another guy.
Yep.
Oh, what you need there, son, is a neck set. I could do that for you. I could start here in an hour. No, but that's good to know. Thank you. I went to 5 guys.
Yeah.
5 different, some independent guys, some big music companies, you know, guitar building companies, and every one of them said neck set. You need a neck set. That's what you need there. And I didn't know, so I figured, okay, well, that's what I need. If all 5 say the same thing,
Sure.
there's chances that's the way it's supposed to go. So I had somebody do it, and they ruined it. It came back with action was higher, and it buzzed all over, and it was more like a crummy guitar. You couldn't dig nothing out of it. Once you hit it, that was it. There was nothing to get out of it. And it's like sending your girlfriend out for a quart of milk, and she comes back. She looks the same, but her voice is totally different. and that's how it was. And so then I had to find other guitars.
Yeah. And you, I know when Art Dudley talked to you way back when, and you're playing the Merrill, like you kind of, the Merrill was straight braced, right? Like your dad's guitar?
I guess so.
You're not a...
I don't know.
You don't care?
I don't care. Just whatever sounds good to me is what I care about. And I'll tell you the other thing I care about. Newer guitars, I like old, let's go back. I like older D18s, because there's a fullness and a warmness to it. Not like a D28, but still, there's this age that you can't build. So, new D18s don't have that. Why? Because they're new. They're brand new. And that people will tell you, oh, I built that to the exact specs of the old one. Yep, you sure did. And it's brand new. You know? And so they don't have that warmth. Whereas a newer Brazilian has warmth to it. Not like an older Brazilian, of course, but they're good. And that's what I like. I'm looking for some sort of warmth.
Yeah.
In a guitar, and that's why that Merrill had rosewood, and this does too.
Do you mentioned playing Clarence's guitar and the action being pretty low? Is that how you like your action on your acoustics?
I don't. Oh, I mean, I would.
Yeah.
No, everybody wants low action, but I don't like it to buzz. I don't like it buzzing.
Yeah.
And it's going to some, you can't help it. But, you know, let's take this off. Maybe we can take a peek at that. See how high that is in between there?
Yeah.
It's
Not
not
too bad.
not the highest, not the lowest, the lowest would either be, I don't know, I heard Tommy Emmanuel's action is crazy low, and Tony's is pretty low. And you know what was amazing is Wyatt Rice and I were sitting in a hotel room. And he's, hey man, I like this new guitar I got, play it. I did, and I barely touched it, and it buzzed like crazy. So I was like, how do you do that? How can you play it? It sounds great when you play it. Yeah. And he took mine. Man, the action is so high. How in the world do you play that?
Yeah.
And then we traded, and he played his, and it never buzzed.
Yeah.
At all. And I played mine. It's like, here we are, home again. So it all depends what you're used to. You know, you think you want low action until you get it, and then if you're used to hitting it hard, then you're going to overdrive it, and there's going to be an adjustment need to be made, and it's hard to do overnight. It takes a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I like them fairly high. Somebody told me I have the highest action in Nashville, which it's like, no, you gave me the highest action in Nashville. Now let's lower it a bit. But that's a really good friend of mine that does guitars, setups and all. But yeah, I like it. You get used to it. There's some things I can do better on a lower action guitar, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, can we hear another tune?
Them's the only ones I know. Well, hey, man, I learned this one in Finland. I went over there and played a folk festival, so I met some folks. And these two folks were two pretty girls that had a band called the Polka Chicks. And one played the fiddle, and one played the yanker, what's that? The accordion.
Yeah.
Yep. And we picked and drank all night, and the accordion player was great. She'd walk me to the next chord because he was playing songs I'd never heard.
Yeah.
And this is the only song I remember from that.
All right, great.
It's a waltz. I think it's really pretty. I don't know the name of it. I'm sure somebody could tell you.
All right. We'll give them a free Fretboard Journal t-shirt if they come up with the name.
Well, how do you know if they come up with the right one?
If it's convincing. They provide a convincing argument.
All right. Something like that.
Lovely.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah. That's by Anonymous.
No, it's real old. Well, yeah, it is now. It's a real old tune, like a public, real old, hundreds of years old, maybe, old folk tune that I heard. That's not, they said it wasn't a Finnish tune, but it's European somewhere.
Yeah. I got a few more questions from our readers, but before that, I would feel awful if I didn't ask you for the joke of the day.
Oh!
So lay it on us.
Oh, this is the one that's going around Nashville, man. This is the best joke. It's the cookie joke. Had you heard the cookie joke?
I don't know the cookie joke, but I'm all the way here in Seattle, so.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a long ways. It takes a while.
Give it a week or two.
So there's this feller. That's always a good start, huh? And there's this feller. He's old. He's like 93. He and Pete Seeger went to the same school. Anyway, he's laying in bed. And he's got, fluids in his arm, into tubes, and he's got oxygen machine in the tubes up his nose. He's laying in there, in and out of consciousness, just at home, but he's not very well off. And he's laying there. And he comes to a little bit. He gets a breath. It's a very shallow breath because he's an older fellow, but he thinks he smells his favorite thing in the world, which is homemade, hot, steaming, gooey chocolate chip cookies. He thinks he smells that, right? So gets another breath. It's his favorite thing, and this is turned out to be his best day in a long time. So he whips the thing out of his nose so he can get a good breath to make sure, and that's exactly what it is. Homemade, wafting into his room, chocolate chip cookies. The smell of that's just, So he rips the thing out of his arm and he flings himself as best he can, into his wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And he's old and frail. He's too old to do that, but he can shuffle his feet. And he shuffles his feet. It takes him a long time, but he gets out of the room and he comes down the hallway. And there where it meets the kitchen, he stops and he looks. There's this big platter of heaped up homemade, steaming, gooey, hot chocolate chip cookies. And this is he can't believe his luck. And so he shuffles over there, and he's going to get one. He reaches up to get one, and his hands, he can't believe he's so happy. He almost gets it, and his wife slaps his hand away and says, "You get out of there. Them's for your funeral."
Ouch.
That's a harsh way to go, isn't it?
Is there a pipeline of jokes in Nashville before they reach you? Is there kind of a hierarchy here?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure everybody hears them. You travel, and that's what I do. I travel around. So what's the latest joke over in this area? And they tell you, and then that was the latest one.
All right.
That's the newest one I've heard.
All right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Daves in Brooklyn, a great guitarist.
Yeah.
He said, "Who are your favorite rhythm guitarists and why?"
Clarence White, because he's the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then rhythm guitar, you can't mention rhythm guitar without even thinking of Tony Rice and this kind of music. So those two guys, and there's many, many great guitar players. Wyatt Rice is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Sutton's amazing. They're all amazing, and they all have their own way of doing things, and that's the best. Kenny Smith is great.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with what Doc Watson and Norman Blake do? Well, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. So lately, Del McCurry's, what amazing rhythm player Del is.
Yeah.
Del is just great. And if you look back further, Lester Flatt was great. You listen to that. I had a tape where he broke a string and the whole band seemed empty. And then he came back in. And while he didn't stand out, he filled out that whole band. And it was nothing like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. It was just, I'm playing rhythm and this is my job and I can do it and I don't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's natural and it's great. And man, what's wrong with that? Too often, much too often, I'm always thinking about, well, what can I do here? What can I do there? What lick can I put here? What should go there? Well, I bet I could do this. Or I'll put a hot lick here, which is, it's like anti-music at that point. So sometimes when I'm playing G, I'll play it like this. Because there ain't a whole lot you can do like that. So it's like putting a governor on your engine. It's like, okay, by golly, I'm not going to clutter this up with a bunch of, smarty pants, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play the chord and let the song carry the brunt.
Yeah. He also asked, because I know he's teaching a ton of kids and adults in Brooklyn, if a moderately skilled player has just 20 minutes a day to practice guitar, what, in your opinion, is the best, most efficient ways you can use that time?
Get on the internet and find a better paying job so you could have more time to work at the guitar.
Right.
There's not a lot you're going to be able to achieve in 20 minutes. Now, having said that, I used to give lessons and think that everybody was wanting to be able to perform on stage at Carnegie Hall, so I tried to get them ready for the, and they don't want that. They just want to play a couple tunes and have fun with it. So if you look at it like that, just on the other hand, there's always another hand. On the other hand, it's hard to play when you've come home from work and you have 20 minutes. Even if you have 2 hours, it's hard because you've just had 8 hours of somebody chewing you out, telling you what to do, giving you crap that's on your mind, and your brain's still there. And so if you're wanting to get good, quit your job. That'll make you good like nobody's business. You'll have a lot of time, and after a while the money will run out, so you'll have to get good. And there you are. That's what you do in that 20 minutes.
All right, quit your job. Resignation letter.
It takes time. It does. It takes years, decades. I know some things, and there's a million things I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know what I'm able to do. That's what's fun about seeing other people. It's like they figured out other ways to do the same thing. This bluegrass music is G to C, a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know 2 or 3 ways to get there, but then you see somebody else playing, it's like, I'd never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
Is there anyone maybe not even in bluegrass, are there any living guitarists that you still haven't played with that you'd love to play with?
Oh, there's a million
Yeah.
people. Yeah, Ry Cooder would be killer to play with. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like dead guitar players. I mean, there's Wes Montgomery, Django, Jimi Hendrix, Clarence White, Lester.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of amazing guitar players I would have liked to play with. Or even if I couldn't play with them, just to hear them live would be, if they're anything like me, I mean, what you get on records, just like the tip of the iceberg, maybe. There's all this other stuff I'm sure they're able to do that I'd never heard.
Yeah.
See, check this out. The hardest thing about learning a new chord is getting your fingers to go there because it's foreign and the shape of it's weird.
Yeah.
Check this out. There's a D. We all know that like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And if you move it up a string, move every one of those up to the next string and down one, it's an F7. So you can get right there. Not that you have any trouble getting to an F7, but it's an easier way. Or if you take that D, move it up 4, that's F. Again, what is it with me and F? And if you move that one down, it's a 9.
Do you practice every day? Are there any days where you don't play guitar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
There's lots of days I don't play guitar.
Yeah.
There didn't used to be any days that I didn't play guitar. And often I would play for 8 to 10 hours, and you learn things or you work out your arrangements there for a while. This is going to sound weird and people aren't going to believe it and I'll catch a bunch of crap for it, but I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm a big boy. There, for a short span, I almost didn't make any mistakes. Of course, I was doing what I already knew. I would take some chances too, but I was so well rehearsed. I played all the time. And if I did make a mistake, I would actually flinch. It was the weirdest thing because your brain's hearing the note you think it's going to be, and what comes out isn't. And it's like, and you jump. It's the weirdest course, I make mistakes so much now that I'm.
What era was that? If we need to go on YouTube or
teenager, there's
Okay.
nothing out there like that. No. But at least that's my memory. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But that's how I recall it. When I was a kid, as a teenager, I played all the time. Which is weird because I had time for so many other things. I mean, I played sports year round. I was track team in junior high school, wrestling team in junior high, basketball in the community, football, baseball, swim team in the summer. So I was doing all these sports and still found time to play all the time.
Yeah.
So
Before video games.
yeah, and you know, I don't know.
Texting.
Like I said, I had a guitar with high action and heavy strings, and was happy.
Yeah.
I was real happy. And now everybody's, oh, I can't possibly practice until I get this $250,000 guitar with this, you know, big expensive gold capo with my name on it and just the right pick. It's like, well, there's a feller that don't want to play. That's the feller that doesn't want to play at all. You know, I don't know. Times are changing.
Yeah. Well, it is early 2014. What's next for you? Any more recordings? Any session work you want to talk about? Or
I think I'm putting out a new record.
great.
I got the artwork done and the music's done. It's one I recorded back in 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had it just sitting around. I thought, well, you know, might as well put it out. Let everybody else decide if it's any good or not.
Yeah.
It's me and Dirk Powell and James Leva on the fiddle. Dirk's on banjo. I'm on the guitar.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of old time tunes. I changed around a little bit, and there's a couple songs. I did Golden Slippers. I can't remember how that goes, but I did that solo on this guitar. It sounds great. There's a song I wrote called Sometime Next Summer that turned out really, really good. I played that on another guitar of mine. It had really, really dead strings, and to me, it just fit the song. And it sounds great. I'm really happy with those two songs. Of course, those two are solo. And I'm happy with others on there too, but I can't hardly think of the names of them. That might be coming out shortly. I've got a new band
Who's in it?
that I'm a part of. It's Mike Compton on the mandolin, Missy Raines on the bass, Shad Cobb on the fiddle, and myself. It's just the four of us. And the name of the band is Helen Highwater String Band. Like a girl's name, Helen, Helen, Highwater String Band. I don't have a Facebook page, so you have to like me the old-fashioned way. But the band has a Facebook page, and they're again, it's just Helen Highwater String Band
Yeah.
on Facebook. So check that out.
Great.
When you're done playing solitaire.
You want to play one more tune to take us out?
Sure, man.
All right. Do you know the title of this one? Or
I
is it
think
another
I
secret
do.
European?
Yes, it's a big secret European. The Druids used to do this.
Let's hear it.
This is called Black Mountain Rag. What
All
about that one? Clarence did this. Doc did it. Everybody that's played guitar has done this at one time or another because of them too.
mistake, just like your youth.
Nah, not really. No, that was chock full of them. But it stopped. Any song that stops is a good song.
That's true words were never spoken. David, thanks so much. Thanks to Martin Guitars for letting us do this series, and look forward to following you and your band, but not on Facebook.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jason.